Welcome to this St. Kentigern School's Anzac service. A special thank you to Spencer Layton, who opened the service in a very St. Kentigern way with the bagpipes. We wanted to mark today as it is a very significant day in the history of our country. We begin with an official welcome from the principal of the boys' school, Peter Cassie.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to this very special yet different St. Kentigern Community Anzac service. Different in the sense that we can't congregate as a community, however important enough that we continue to hold a service that honours and remembers all New Zealanders who have lost their lives in war. So how did this day and date become so important in our history? In 1914, tension was mounting in Europe, where countries were vying for power, land and supremacy. England eventually declared war on Germany in early August 1914. New Zealand was part of the British Empire, so when the call to arms was requested, New Zealand was in. Men left their families, their work and farms, excited about the adventure ahead and the thought of travelling the world, thinking that they would be home by Christmas, all safe and sound. So the boys from Hokitika, the boys from Wellington and Auckland, and other regions throughout New Zealand boarded troop ships, ready to do what was required to protect Mother England. As the war was spreading across the world, New Zealand and Australian troops were diverted to Egypt for training. It was here, where they trained together, that they formed a bond that to this day remains. It was also in Egypt that they dropped their regional allegiance to become proud New Zealanders. No longer were they boys from Hokitika, Wellington or Auckland. They were Kiwis, true and proud New Zealanders. The Australian and New Zealand troops' natural competitive nature and good humour developed into a real mateship with mutual respect for each other's determination and doggedness. Thus the Anzac acronym was also born. From Egypt, the Anzac troops were transported to the Greek island of Lemnos to prepare for the invasion of the Gallipoli Peninsula. The plan was to attack the peninsula and take out the gun emplacements that were guarding the Dardanelles Straits. This would open up supply lines to Russia, England's ally, and the hope of bringing a quick end to the war. In the early hours of Sunday morning, April 25, 1915, the Anzac troops landed on a beach the width of a cricket wicket leading to steep hills with no cover whatsoever. They were not prepared for the terrain or the onslaught of firepower that greeted them. Although the 8.5-month Gallipoli campaign failed in its military objectives, the Anzac actions during the campaign left us all a powerful legacy. The creation of what became known as the Anzac legend became an important part of the identity of both our nations, shaping the way we now view both our past and our future. The Gallipoli campaign had a profound impact on New Zealanders at home, with the very first Anzac Day held on April 25, 1916. This day and date will always remain the day on which we remember the ultimate sacrifice of those New Zealanders who have given their lives in the pursuit of peace, enabling us to live the lives we currently enjoy now. As Jesus once said, "Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down his life for a friend." We will remember them.
I invite you to now join together in the singing of the National Anthem. We are led by Mr. Isaac Williams, a Year 8 teacher at the girls' school, and his wife Chloe.
Mana kiti shafts of strife and war. May her praises heard afar. God defend New Zealand.
As Mr. Cassie reminded us earlier, greater love has no one than this, than to lay down their life for a friend. This reading comes from the Gospel of John, and Nora Caffley, the chapel prefect at the girls' school, is going to read that Bible reading to us now.
Our Bible reading for this Anzac service is from John 15. Jesus said this, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you, so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." May God bless this reading.
Paddy Leishman is an old boy of St. Kentigern Boys' School, and he has recorded for our Anzac service today, Sons of Gallipoli.
Reverend Hardy asked me to sing Sons of Gallipoli, and it's a pretty special song for us. The man who wrote it, Father Chris Skinner, he actually married my parents and christened me. So we go a long way back. So yeah, very special. I hope everyone has a great Anzac Day service and a fantastic Anzac Day. And I'll see you soon, hopefully. Fingers crossed. We sang, God of nations, at thy feet, as we stood on that sacred shore, with our heartfelt pride somewhere deep inside, for the sons of Gallipoli. We sang Eoa from a place they called Anzac Cove. We gazed out to see where our homes would be, for the sons of Gallipoli. How still you lie, and how still you die on either hillsides. We sang, hear our voices, we entreat, as the wind blew from off the sea, with one tearful sigh and a question why, for the sons of Gallipoli. How still you lie, and how still you die on other hillsides. We sang, God of nations, at thy feet, as we stood on that sacred shore, with our heartfelt pride somewhere deep inside, for the sons of Gallipoli. See you soon.
Behind me, if you look closely, you can make out the city of Ypres in Belgium. This photo was taken 100 years ago, just after the end of the First World War, on the 20th of January, 1920. Like Gallipoli, a lot of Kiwis lost their lives around this city. You can see the devastation. In fact, this city was destroyed both during the First World War and the Second World War. And every evening in this city, under the Menin Gate, there is a service of remembrance for the hundreds of thousands of soldiers, including Anzacs, who marched through the city on their way to battle, many never to return home. I want to show you another photo. And this photo was taken also 100 years ago on the 20th of January 1920. And this is a photo of St. Heliers Beach. You can see the peace and tranquility. Families enjoying a picnic together on the beach, swimmers in there enjoying the sea. It looks a very different picture, doesn't it? New Zealand enjoyed all those years ago a level of security and safety that was quite remarkable. It's something that we enjoy today as well. And what made the commitment of our Anzacs so remarkable is that they were willing to travel halfway around the world, to leave the peace and tranquility of our country, to go and to fight and to stand up against all that was cruel and evil and wrong in their world, just as the prayer of St. Kentigern challenges us to do today. In this respect, the courage of the Anzacs continues to be an inspiration for us, because we need young men and women today who are willing to stand up for all that is right and good and true. Let us pray. Loving God, today we remember. We remember the men and women who have over the years sought to defend our free land. Thank you for the courage of the Anzacs. We honour the burden they carried and the sacrifices they made. On this Anzac Day, we also give thanks for the emergency workers in New Zealand and Australia who, like the Anzacs, have over the last month put the needs of others before themselves. God, strengthen us as we are called on to make sacrifices today, and unite us as we carry together the burden of this lockdown, so that we might again, as a nation, enjoy the freedoms our Anzacs so bravely fought for. Amen. Not far from Ypres in Belgium is Flanders Field, the inspiration for the famous John McCrae poem by the same name. James Hiddleston, the head boy at the boys' school, is going to read that poem to us now.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that marks our place, and in the sky, the lark still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, without dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
The song Māori Battalion was adopted as the Māori Battalion's marching song during the Second World War. It was written by one of the soldiers who served in the B Company. It later even became a radio hit. We're going to sing this song together now, and we're led by Candice Cassie, a Year 7 teacher at the girls' school.
Māori Battalion march to victory. Māori Battalion staunch and true. Māori Battalion march to glory. Take the honour of the people with you. We will march, march, march to the enemy, and we will fight right to the end. For God, for King, and for country. Ake ake ki kahae.
Ode of Remembrance was first published in the London Times in 1914. It has been a part of remembrance services ever since. Year 3 student Kai Stevens is going to read the ode, and then following the ode, Tom Chester, music itinerant teacher at the boys' school, will play the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
Thank you for being part of this Anzac service. In a moment, we're going to say together our blessing. After you've finished watching this video, why don't you have together a family breakfast? Kurt Dorset from the boys' school has put together this great little cooking video to give you a guide as to what you might enjoy. And I know Mr. Dorset would love to see photos of your finished product. His finished product looks pretty fantastic, as you'll see. Let's say our blessing. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te atawhai o te tātou ariki, o ihu karaiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga, ki te wairua tapu, ake, 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 ameni. God bless you. Have a wonderful Anzac Day.
Hey everyone, welcome to Mr. Dorset's isolation breakfast for today. This is all Anzac Day special, and what we're going to be making is some homemade oat pancakes. Super easy, super healthy, and the whole family will enjoy it. First thing we're going to do though is make sure that our hands are nice and washed. So hygiene is key when cooking. Alright, we'll fast forward this part. Make sure we get it all sorted. Make sure, again, separate hand towel. Don't use one of those tea towels that's been hanging in there a whole time. Go on. Okay, so over here we have our stuff that we need. These are the key things. Now I've got almond milk here, but you guys can use real milk. You can use coconut milk, whatever you want. So we've also asked you guys to have a whisk. If you don't have a whisk, a fork will do nicely. Oh yeah, so we've got the banana good to go in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a fork and I'm going to mash it up. Okay, so you want it nice and squishy. So making sure that, you know, the whole banana is squished into a nice, real sort of mushy part, because you don't want chunks of banana in your pancakes. Alright, that's not what we're after. So we're going to mash that in nice and tight. In the recipe that has come with it, it actually says to not do this first, but experience says you want to be mashing this banana first, okay? You don't want it all slushing around with the milk and the eggs. Alright, step 2, we add milk, okay? So this is where we get our little 1/4 cup.
crack into our milk. Perfect. Okay, and then that goes into the bowl. Alright. Again, we want to sort of just mush it up a little bit. Okay, just mix it in. Doesn't need to do too much, but just make sure that the whole banana is covered. Next up, eggs. 2 of these things. Crack. In. Perfect. Make sure no shell. Alright, no one wants a crunchy pancake. Okay, so this is where the whisk will come in. As I said, if you don't have a whisk, a fork will do nicely, but if you do, this is the best bet. Alright, so we really want to whisk that up. Okay, so you guys can see it's becoming this nice thick mush right there. And I want to do this until it's quite smooth. Okay, so we can't see bits of the egg still in there. Cool. So that's what we're after. Okay, for this part it's really important that you get someone to come and help you. So I've got George over here and he's going to make sure that I get things level and right. Okay, so next up we want a cup of oats. Now a level cup of oats is really important here. Also the other thing to note is that I've blended these oats up. So I've chucked them through a little food processor and made it into sort of a nice softer powder. Okay, that way it'll be a lot easier to eat. Alright, so a cup of oats, in you go. Okay, I'm not just dumping it in, I'm sort of spreading it around a little bit. George, you want to have a check? Is that right? Happy? Good. Okay, next up, cinnamon. Alright, we're going to go with 1 of these little guys, also known as a teaspoon, and we're going to put that in and we're going to spread it around. Now, there we go, close enough, perfect. Close enough is never good enough, you need to make sure that it's level. Okay guys, the next thing we're going to put in here is black chia seeds. Now these are optional, we enjoy them as a little family, but this could also be the time where you substitute this for things like chocolate chips or a bit of coconut or something that you guys really enjoy as a family. So this is the chance to substitute this at this point. Okay, we're going to go for a tablespoon of these, if I can ever get it open. Again, scatter it around, make sure it's nice and evenly spread. Alright, the last little bit that we're going to add to this before we start mixing it up and putting it onto the fry pan is a little bit of baking powder. Okay, so for this we're going to put half of a teaspoon. Okay, very little amount, but really important. Okay. The other thing to note, don't make a mistake I've made before where you put baking soda in instead of baking powder. It doesn't quite do what it's supposed to do. Okay, so our mix kind of looks like this at the moment. We're going to get a nice spoon. A fork will do nicely as well, just to really sort of get in there. In fact, a fork is the way to go because I once read that it aerates the mix. Okay, so we're going to mix it up with a fork. Okay, stop. Okay guys, so what we want to do is you want to put it on medium heat. Don't go super hot because the pancakes will burn. And a medium heat will give you a chance to flip them and get everything sorted. Okay, remember we're dealing with heat, be safe, ask mum and dad to help out here. I'll put a little bit of coconut oil on here just to get it so that it doesn't stick. You guys can use just normal oil if you want, just a tiny little smidge is the way to go. Alright. And the next thing, once it's nice and warm, okay, so we've got coconut oil melted, I know I'm ready to go. This is, I believe, Mr. Dawson's top tip, okay? The best way to get good pancakes is you want to get a spoon that's sort of nice and deep like that, okay? and you fill it up with the mixture. Now the key is how you roll it in. Don't you tell. Yes, we know you know. Okay, the key is how you roll this into the pan. Don't just pour it in. What you want to do is you want to gently, can you see this? Cool. Is you want to gently put it in there, and you want to slowly roll the spoon so that the mixture gently rolls out of it. Okay. And that will give you a perfect pancake shape. Okay, that's really, really important. It also means it doesn't just spread everywhere. So remember, just gently rolling the pancake mixture into the pan. Alright, so that is really, really important. I'm going to fit about 3 of these guys on here. Okay, the next thing to know is when do you flip it over? Okay, so another little tip is to watch carefully is when you watch the pancakes. What you'll see is when they're ready to go, they'll start to, little bubbles will start to appear on the top. Okay, that's when you know it's time to get this thing out and just gently sort of scrape around the side to see if they're good to go. If you go in too early, it will spread, it will break up. Okay, so you're better to leave it a little bit longer and get it right. Okay guys, so sometimes the pancakes won't all cook evenly, and we can see this guy here is taking off. Now the bubbles I talked about are these things here that are starting to pop up. Okay, you see that? When we've got a few more of those, I know I'm ready to go. So I can just gently test it. Okay, just by going around the outside. Yep, I'm getting a little bit of lift. Okay, and when I go a little bit harder, yep, I think we're good to go on this one. So I'm just going to make sure that it's not stuck anywhere. Perfect, and then it's time for the flip. So, here we go. Pretty good, not a bad first effort. Alright, once you get more confident, you can be more aggressive. Almost at the fun part of eating it. We've got our pancakes stacked, ready to go, and as you can see they're looking pretty good. What we want to do is add our little special treats. We love a little bit of coconut yogurt and some berries with ours, so that's what we're going to put on here. And you know, it's really important that you smother these things. Okay, so if you're putting yogurt on here or ice cream or whatever it is, make sure that there's enough on there. That makes this thing taste even better. So some berries. And voila, we are ready to eat. Enjoy.